And let me make something crystal clear. I never said Jeffrey Epstein didn't traffic other people, other women, and they're not other victims. This is the investigation we were given from 2006, 7, and 8, and the search warrants from 2006, 7, and 8. That's what we're working with.
Well, wait, have you released all of the stuff that the FBI has seized from Epstein's house? The computers, the emails, the file cabinets, the documents? What about the financial records? Have you released all of that?
Everything the court has allowed us to release.
Which court are you talking about?
3 separate federal courts have come in and said...
We're talking about the evidence you've got. It's got nothing to do with what those courts have.
Do you have any idea how the law works?
Wait,
do you want me to break the law in a federal judge's order?
No, I want you to follow your own word, Director Patel. You said up there it was under the direct control of the FBI director. He had the black book.
Everything I have direct control over, we have gone to court.
So here's the scoop. Kash Patel, the FBI director, found himself in quite a bind recently. A federal judge called him out during a hearing, making it very clear that if he didn't hand over the necessary documents regarding Epstein and the ongoing FBI investigation, he could end up in jail. It was a serious moment, with the judge stating, "If you go against this order, you're looking at immediate arrest." This dramatic exchange took place on December 17th, just 2 days before the full Epstein files were set to be made public. You could practically feel the tension in that courtroom. As the judge stared Patel down, it was obvious he was tired of the vague answers and legal jargon that didn't hold up. When Patel tried to invoke some legal privilege, the judge shot him down, saying, "That doesn't apply here." He set a deadline for Patel to comply fully by December 20th, reminding him that failure to do so could lead to him getting arrested right then and there. It's honestly hard to believe he said that out loud. We're talking about the head of the FBI facing the possibility of jail time for obstruction.
Everything you have direct control over, you said.
Have gone to court, and everything we have direct control over.
Complete your sentence. You said everything.
We're releasing.
Much more has come out in the days since the American people in Congress have been demanding it, but it's coming out in dribs and drabs. Why don't you just release the entire file as you promised to do?
I literally just told you, there are multiple federal court orders. I'm not gonna break the law to satisfy your curiosity. You didn't join us when we filed court to release the court.
Let's talk about what's been going down with Kash Patel. So for quite some time, he has been holding back documents that a court has legally demanded. We're talking about records related to Epstein from FBI files, internal memos, and communication that connects to investigations involving Trump. Patel was supposed to hand these over as part of the legal process, but he just wouldn't do it. He made all sorts of claims saying these documents were protected by attorney-client privilege or that they were classified and sensitive. He even threw in some national security excuses not to release them. But here's the kicker. Judges have been ordering him to release them anyway. They've been pretty clear about it, saying, "Produce these documents now." And yet Patel kept refusing, trying to play games with the courts. Finally, Judge Richard Berman stepped in and said he'd had enough of the nonsense. The judge gave Patel a straight ultimatum: either release the documents or face jail time. And trust me, the judge meant business. This was no empty threat. It was a robust warning backed by the serious authority of the federal court system, ready to act immediately if necessary. The hearing on December 17th was tough for Kash Patel and his legal team. The judge hit him with some direct questions, but Patel just wouldn't get to the point, giving those roundabout answers instead. As the judge kept pressing him for clarity, Patel continued to avoid the issues. Finally, the judge had enough and firmly stated that this needed to end right then and there. He made it clear: no more delays, no excuses, and no more tricks. Patel was ordered to produce the necessary documents by December 20th, or he'd be facing arrest. The judge warned him that any further defiance would lead to immediate action from federal marshals. It was pretty stark when the judge said, "There's no middle ground here." It was compliance with the order, or time in federal custody. And it's quite telling when a judge has to use that kind of language. It's clearly a sign of running out of patience and gearing up to hold someone in contempt. This situation is serious, especially considering Patel is the FBI director facing possible jail time for ignoring court orders. It's rather ironic, isn't it? Here's a guy who's supposed to enforce the law getting himself into hot water for breaking those very laws. Patel is meant to respect the judicial system and adhere to court authority, but instead he's obstructing justice and refusing to follow legal requirements. Now he finds himself with the possibility of jail time for these offenses, which is truly hypocritical. The head of the FBI could potentially be arrested for contempt of court. That's a wild turn of events. The judge made it clear that even as the FBI director, he's not above the law or the constitutional requirements. Compliance. With court orders and subpoenas isn't optional, and failing to do so comes with consequences. The documents Patel has been hiding are no small matter either. We're talking about records related to Jeffrey Epstein from FBI files, which could reveal whether the agency was investigating specific individuals or connections to Epstein. These are significant memos that just might shed light on crucial connections. So here's the deal with Kash Patel and what's happening in the courtroom. He's been preventing important documents about Trump's connections to Epstein from being released. Apparently, he thinks he's helping Trump by keeping this information out of sight from courts and Congress. But now the judge is done with that. The judge laid down the law saying those documents need to be released or Patel could find himself behind bars. And the deadline, it's coming up fast, just 3 days from now on December 20th. If he doesn't comply, federal marshals might come knocking, ready to take him into custody. This situation is just one piece of a much larger puzzle involving Trump's administration right now. We've got Bondi caught red-handed hiding stuff from the Department of Justice. And here's Patel also in hot water for withholding information from the courts. Then there's that leaked pardon news suggesting Trump was gearing up to protect certain individuals from facing prosecution. Meanwhile, Congress is sniffing around all these issues and the courts are making sure everyone sticks to the rules. Now, those Epstein files are about to come out and they're expected to pack some serious punch concerning Trump. It seems like every single person close to him is being dragged into the light and facing potential repercussions for their actions. All these attempts to cover up evidence are just falling apart. It's almost as if the system is finally kicking into gear to hold folks accountable, despite Trump's best efforts to obstruct justice. And let's take a closer look at Kash Patel's role here, because a lot of people might not fully grasp what he's been up to. He was initially on board to look into Trump's ties to Epstein, yet somehow he's managed to stall that investigation entirely. When you really break it down, it's startlingly clear that Patel has been using his position as FBI director not to uphold justice, but to shield Trump and protect his name from anything that could rock his presidential boat. So it turns out Kash Patel has been in quite a bit of hot water lately. Allegedly, he shifted the focus of an investigation away from Donald Trump, using his position as FBI director to put a halt to any inquiries into Trump's ties to Epstein. This is likely why Trump was reportedly interested in granting Patel a pardon to shield him from any repercussions for those actions. It seems Patel may have crossed some lines, doing something illegal or at least unethical for Trump. And now it looks like Trump is attempting to protect him from facing the music. There's this growing cloud of suspicion around some documents Patel's been keeping under wraps. They probably contain evidence that could confirm his interference with the FBI investigation into Trump, including communications with Trump's team about the Epstein situation. Clearly, it appears Patel was more focused on obstructing justice than pursuing it, which might explain why he's been so reluctant to release those documents to the public or Congress. He's thrown around claims of privilege and national security concerns to resist a court subpoena, which makes it seem like he's trying to hide something that might prove he broke the law. The evidence might reveal how he misused his FBI authority to help Trump mask his connections to Epstein and the victims involved. Eventually, the judge got fed up with all this obstruction. The judge made it clear that as the FBI director, Patel's job is to uphold the law and follow court orders, not to flout them. The judge bluntly stated that it was time for this to stop and instructed Patel to hand over the documents or he would face immediate arrest. The deadline, December 20th. There's no wiggle room here. The judge is serious about enforcing compliance, and if Patel doesn't follow through, he could find himself in federal custody. That's not a thinly veiled threat. It's a direct warning from a federal judge with the power to make things happen. So, let's talk about what went down in federal court regarding contempt of court. Essentially, contempt of court happens when someone openly defies a judge's orders or refuses to follow judicial authority. It's serious business because it can lead to immediate arrest without any hearing. Not to mention, it could mean time behind bars or hefty fines. There are two types of contempt, civil and criminal, with criminal contempt allowing judges to order an arrest on the spot. This is what Judge Berman seemed prepared to do with Kash Patel. If Patel keeps defying the court, the judge could call on federal marshals to arrest him right then and there. No trial, no hearing, just an arrest until he agrees to comply. That's how much power judges hold to enforce their orders and maintain order in the courtroom. Now think about the gravity of this situation. Kash Patel is the FBI Director of the United States, a figure with immense power and authority in the government, overseeing sensitive intelligence and national secrets. Yet here he is facing the possible threat of arrest by a federal judge. This highlights that no one, not even someone at the top like the FBI Director, is above the law in America. It's a clear indication that the rule of law is in action and the constitutional system is functioning as it should. The judge had to be crystal clear in his message. He warned that further defiance would lead to immediate arrest by marshals and that there were no compromises. Either comply fully or face jail time. There's nothing vague about that. It's straightforward and serious. This is a judge saying flat out, if you don't listen to me, you're going to jail. And apparently in the courtroom, Patel really felt the weight of that pressure. Reports from the hearing paint a picture of him crumbling under the scrutiny of the judge's stern resolve. So it's really quite a situation with Kash Patel right now. He's become pretty defensive after getting called out in court for not handing over some important documents. The judge made it very clear. These are subpoena documents that the public deserves to see, and there's no room for blocking their release, especially since that's just against court orders. He put his foot down saying, this nonsense needs to stop right away. What makes it even more interesting is that Patel had previously agreed to formally look into Donald Trump's connections with Epstein. He actually said, yes, I'll go after this Epstein probe. But then, out of nowhere, he seems to have completely switched direction, allegedly stalling the investigation. It looks like he even used his position at the FBI to keep things under wraps. So, when the judge asked why he hadn't produced the documents about the Epstein probes, Patel really had no solid answers. He couldn't argue that the documents were fake because they actually exist in the FBI's files. He couldn't say they weren't relevant because they are directly related to this whole situation. And regarding claims of privilege, the courts have already ruled that they aren't covered by that either. So he's seriously backed into a corner. He's got to hand over those documents or risk going to jail. And the countdown is on since December 20th is looming closer by the day. There's a broader picture here that's pretty telling as well. Patel has been accused of leveraging his role in the FBI to protect Trump, blocking investigations and suppressing evidence that could paint Trump in a less than flattering light. Now the courts are stepping in saying enough is enough. They're insisting he stick to the law and produce those subpoenaed documents, and time is running out for him to come up with any excuses. Now let's talk about what this contempt warning really means for Patel. It's significant not only for him, but also for Trump and the FBI as a whole. We're looking at the chief of the FBI potentially facing jail time for not following court orders, which is a wild scenario. There's also the risk of him becoming a criminal defendant, and frankly, his credibility is taking a serious hit due to his own actions. We really need to focus on what's coming up and how it connects to everything else going on right now. So here's the deal. If Kash Patel doesn't get his act together by December 20th, he's likely looking at arrest by federal marshals. The judge was pretty straightforward about that. There's no room for negotiation. The judge made it clear that if Patel keeps this up, he'll be arrested immediately. This isn't just some legal scare tactic. It's serious. The judge's message is clear. Keep defying me and you're going to jail. Federal law enforcement will come in and take Patel into custody until he follows the court's orders. It's honestly hard to believe that the FBI director of the United States could be in jail in just a few days. That's truly shocking and sets a new precedent. It's pretty wild to think that a president's FBI director could face jail time for contempt of court. Now, if Patel does end up getting arrested for contempt, he'll lose all credibility as FBI director overnight. The FBI director is meant to uphold the law and the Constitution, serving as the top law enforcement officer for the agency. If he's stuck in jail for ignoring court orders, that completely erodes the FBI's authority and credibility. There's no way Patel could do his job effectively under those circumstances. It's just not feasible for someone in his position to be a criminal defendant while trying to lead the FBI. He's left with three choices: resign, get fired, or end up in jail. It's really as simple as that. And here's another thing to consider. This situation is likely going to speed up impeachment and removal efforts against Trump. House Democrats will certainly notice the FBI director potentially heading to jail for contempt and highlight it as part of a larger issue. They will point out that Trump's attorney general is being looked at for obstruction while his FBI director might be jailed for contempt. They'll argue that Trump's entire administration is systematically obstructing justice, and that's solid ground for impeachment and removal from office. It looks like things are heating up when it comes to impeachment, especially now that Trump's own FBI director might be looking at jail time for not following court orders. Senate Republicans are going to have to really think long and hard about how they can defend Trump with his FBI director being a criminal defendant. Now, about those documents that Kash Patel is holding back, there's a judge who ordered they be released by December 20th. So they're probably going to come out one way or another. If Patel doesn't hand them over willingly, it's very likely the court will just have the Department of Justice release them directly. Those documents are going to get made public, no doubt about it. Once that happens, it's going to be crystal clear that Patel was blocking investigations into Trump. It'll come. out that he used his position at the FBI to obstruct justice and was even helping Trump cover up those connections to Epstein. And it doesn't stop there. This whole mess could lead to criminal charges against Patel. Contempt of court is a serious issue. And if he keeps ignoring the judge's orders, he could find himself in a real pickle, possibly facing prosecution in federal court. That's not some mere civil issue or just a judge being upset. It has the makings of a criminal case, even a felony charge. Just imagine the FBI director facing criminal charges is a major deal. It's the kind of scandal that could lead to someone resigning or getting kicked out of office altogether. It could really ruin a career. This whole situation will undoubtedly impact Trump's grip on the FBI director position. He needs someone in that role who has credibility and can actually do the job. Someone who earns respect around the government and can effectively lead the FBI. But if Patel ends up in jail or dealing with serious charges, he can't function in that capacity anymore. He turns into a liability and becomes a headache for Trump. At some point, Trump might even think it's better to let Patel resign or remove him entirely rather than keeping someone on board who's facing jail time. Kash Patel, the director of the FBI, is in quite a predicament after facing a federal judge's threat of jail time for ignoring court orders and holding back important documents related to the Epstein and Trump investigations. The clock is ticking as the judge has set a deadline for Patel to comply by December 20th. What adds to the pressure is the timing of everything. Just a day before, on December 19th, the full Epstein files are set to be released, which could really expose Trump's connections to Epstein and highlight Patel's attempt to interfere with the investigation. No doubt the documents Patel has been keeping under wraps are likely to come to light regardless of his wishes. If those documents reveal Patel's role in obstructing justice or aiding Trump in covering things up, that's another serious issue he'll have to face. There's more at play here, though. The judge is also threatening to refer Patel for disbarment since he's likely holding a license to practice law in several states. Disbarment would mean he could no longer work as a lawyer, turning him into a pariah in the legal field. So this looming consequence is another reason why Patel needs to comply with the court's demands without delay. What's particularly interesting in all this is how the courts are asserting their authority. They're demonstrating that no one, not even those in high office, is above the law in America. The courts are capable of enforcing their will against powerful figures, whether it's the FBI director facing jail time or the attorney general being investigated for obstruction. This is a clear example of the separation of powers and the constitutional checks and balances actually functioning as they should. All these developments are certainly not what Trump needs right now, especially with the scrutiny closing in as Patel navigates his court issues and the revealing of those Epstein files. It's honestly hard to believe how quickly the situation has escalated for him. So it looks like Kash Patel really buckled under the pressure in court. He's been playing around with his FBI connections, trying to shield Trump and block investigations. But the courts are really putting their foot down. He has to hand over those documents or risk going straight to jail. It's a tough spot for him. He could either end up behind bars, face some serious criminal charges, or even resign in shame. Any of those scenarios would be a huge blow to Trump, and these outcomes would only hasten the impeachment and removal. Process. Showing that Trump's efforts to dodge justice are crumbling. The system is actually doing its job, holding folks accountable despite Trump's influence. And it feels like the walls are closing in on them from all sides. And you'll want to pay attention to what's coming up on the 19th and 20th of December because it's going to get wild. The Epstein files are set to drop, Patel's got a deadline looming, and those documents are going to reveal what he's been keeping under wraps.